You got the promotion. After years of showing up early and staying late and doing the work and being patient, the raise finally came through, a real one, the kind that changes the number in a meaningful way. And for a moment, a genuine, earned moment, it felt like the scoreboard finally reflected what you already knew about yourself. So, you celebrated, the way you're supposed to celebrate. You traded in the reliable car that still had 40,000 miles of life left in it for the luxury SUV you'd been mentally driving for 2 years. You moved from the apartment into the house with the yard and the garage and the neighborhood that finally matched the job title. You started buying the $6 coffee without checking the balance first, because checking the balance before a $6 coffee is something you used to do, and you are past that now. You upgraded the phone, the wardrobe, the gym membership, the vacations. You started living at the level you always felt you were supposed to be living at. And 5 years later, you're making double what you used to make. And you have exactly the same amount left over at the end of the month. Zero. The same zero you had when you were making half this salary. Just a more expensive, better dressed, leather-seated version of the same zero. You didn't build wealth. You built overhead. What just happened to that person has a name. It's called lifestyle creep. And it is, without question, the most effective wealth-destroying force available to middle-class earners. Not because it's dramatic or sudden, but because it's invisible. It doesn't feel like a mistake while it's happening. It feels like progress. It feels like finally living the way you were always supposed to live. That feeling is the trap, the aesthetics of success. The car, the house, the coffee, the wardrobe are so thoroughly baked into our cultural definition of making it that upgrading your lifestyle when your income rises doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like the natural next step, like the obvious thing a person does when they can finally afford to. What nobody tells you, clearly and early, is that affording something and the something being a good idea are two entirely different things. The bank will approve the car loan. The landlord will approve the lease on the nicer apartment. The credit card will process every single upgraded purchase without comment or hesitation. The ability to pay for something is not the same as a vote in favor of buying it. The market will always be happy to take your money. That is not advice. That is just commerce. Today, we're going to dismantle the lifestyle trap piece by piece. The psychology behind it, the math underneath it, and the practical mechanics of escaping it without feeling like you're punishing yourself for succeeding. Let's start with the story we tell ourselves, because the lifestyle upgrade almost never feels like a financial decision in the moment. It feels like something else entirely. It feels earned. And that framing is everything. I've been working incredibly hard for 3 years. I sacrificed, I showed up, I delivered. I deserve this car. The purchase isn't consumption. It's a reward. It's self-care. It's the tangible proof that the sacrifice had a point. The marketing industry did not accidentally land on this framing. It spent decades and billions of dollars embedding it into the culture because it is extraordinarily effective at loosening the connection between spending and consequence. When a purchase is framed as a reward for hard work, questioning it feels like questioning whether the work deserved to be rewarded. And nobody wants to do that. But here's the question the framing is specifically designed to prevent you from asking. Is a depreciating asset actually a reward? The luxury SUV loses 10 to 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. By year 3, it's worth roughly half of what you paid. The reward for your 3 years of hard work is an object that is actively destroying the value you assigned it every single day, while simultaneously requiring insurance payments and maintenance costs and a monthly loan payment that your budget now considers non-negotiable. That is not a reward. That is a punishment for your future self, wrapped in leather upholstery and delivered with a congratulatory handshake. Real rewards build. They compound. They make future choices easier, rather than locking future income into fixed obligations. The car does the opposite. But it feels like a reward, because the entire consumer economy is structured around making it feel that way. The feeling was manufactured. The payment is real. Now, let's talk about how long that feeling actually lasts. Because this is the part that should make everyone who has ever upgraded anything stop and do the math honestly. The leather seats feel incredible for about 3 weeks. That's not a guess. There is decades of psychological research on hedonic adaptation, the process by which human beings return to a stable emotional baseline after any change, positive or negative. We are wired to normalize. It is one of the most robust findings in behavioral psychology, and one of the most financially expensive facts about human nature. The new car smell fades. The spacious house becomes just the place where you live, and clean, and maintain, and pay property taxes on. The luxury grocery store becomes your grocery store. The premium gym becomes the gym you feel vaguely guilty about not going to. The upgrade that felt transformative in week 1 is simply the new baseline by month 2. And the new baseline comes with a permanent, locked-in monthly overhead that doesn't care at all how you currently feel about the thing you bought. You paid a massive premium for a temporary dopamine hit. The hit wore off on schedule, as it always does. And you are now contractually obligated to keep paying for the memory of how good it felt that first week. This is the baseline reset. And it is merciless, because the adaptation doesn't just make the new thing feel normal. It makes going back feel like deprivation. The person who drove a perfectly functional $18,000 car without suffering can no longer consider that car without it feeling like a downgrade, even though nothing about their actual daily life would meaningfully change. The upgrade installed a new floor, and floors, once installed, are surprisingly difficult to remove. Here's a question worth sitting with honestly for a moment. When you upgraded the car, who were you thinking about? Not consciously, maybe, but underneath the "I earned it" narrative, underneath the genuine enjoyment of the new thing, who was the audience? Because for most people there was one. The neighbors, the colleagues, the people at school pickup, the extended family at Thanksgiving, the vague, composite audience of people whose opinion of your life you've been tracking, probably since your 20s, without fully admitting that you're doing it. We buy things to send signals. That's not a character flaw. It's deeply human, wired in at a social level that predates modern consumer culture by tens of thousands of years. Status signaling is ancient. What's new is the price tag. Here's the part that should make the whole game feel slightly absurd. The people you're signaling to are mostly broke. They are financing their own signals. They are stretching their own budgets to project the appearance of a financial comfort they don't actually have, in a neighborhood or social circle where everyone is quietly doing the same thing simultaneously. It's a game of mutual financial destruction played on Instagram and in driveways and at dinner parties, and nearly every participant is losing while appearing to win. The genuinely wealthy, not the high-income, high-spending class, but the people with actual, durable, generational net worth, largely don't play this game. There's a term for how they operate: stealth wealth. The paid-off Toyota in the driveway. The unremarkable house in a reasonable neighborhood. The clothes that are quality, but not branded. No performance, no audience, no monthly payment towards someone else's opinion of them. They stopped caring what the driveway looked like a long time ago. That decision, made and held consistently over decades, is worth more than almost any investment strategy. It is the absence of the social proof tax. And the social proof tax, it turns out, is one of the most expensive recurring charges most households carry. There's a specific evolution in how the lifestyle trap gets funded that's worth examining on its own. Because the mechanics of how we pay for upgraded lives have changed significantly, and the change is not in your favor. We used to buy things. You saved, you purchased, you owned. The transaction was complete. The object was yours. Whatever you felt about it afterward, the hedonic adaptation, the maintenance costs, the eventual replacement, at least the financial relationship, had a defined endpoint. That model has been largely replaced by something considerably more profitable for the people selling it. Now, you rent your lifestyle, monthly. The car isn't purchased. It's leased with a payment that never ends, because when this term is up, you roll into the next one. The phone isn't bought. It's on an upgrade program. A monthly charge that ensures you're always on the newest model and never actually own the device in your pocket. The software, the music, the movies, the meal kits, the gym, the clothing subscription box that arrives, whether you remembered signing up for it or not. The premium, whatever it is that seemed reasonable, at $19.99 a month when you signed up 18 months ago, and has quietly been leaving your account every 30 days since. The industry calls this smart cash flow management, access over ownership, the flexibility of the monthly model. What it actually is death by 1,019.99 cuts. You own nothing. You have accumulated no assets, no equity, no objects that retain value. But your monthly overhead, the fixed, non-negotiable minimum your lifestyle costs to maintain every single month before you buy a single additional thing, is enormous. And because each individual charge is small enough to feel trivial, the collective total tends to escape serious scrutiny until you do the annual math and feel briefly ill. The subscription economy didn't emerge because consumers demanded it. It emerged because recurring monthly revenue is the most predictable, most profitable, hardest to cancel business model ever invented. You are not the beneficiary of this arrangement. You are the product the arrangement was designed around. Everything we've covered so far, the dopamine hit that fades, the social performance, the monthly subscriptions quietly draining the account, those are expensive. But they are not the darkest consequence of lifestyle creep. The darkest consequence is what happens to your options, specifically, what happens to all of them. There is a moment that arrives for a lot of high-earning professionals somewhere in their late 30s or 40s. The job that was once exciting has become something they endure. The industry has changed, or the company has changed, or they have changed, and the fit that once felt natural now feels like wearing the wrong size of everything. And they start running the numbers on an exit. Maybe a career pivot into something that actually matters to them, at a salary that's 30% lower. Maybe starting the business that's been living in the back of their head for 6 years. Maybe just a lateral move to somewhere less demanding, less political, less corrosive to their Sunday evenings. And then they look at the monthly overhead, the mortgage on the house in the right neighborhood, the lease payments on 2 cars that project the appropriate image, the private school tuition they locked into when the income felt permanent, the subscriptions, the memberships, the lifestyle floor that got built up incrementally over a decade of raises and upgrades. The math doesn't work at 30% less. The math barely works at current salary with current stress levels. The exit door is right there, and it's been quietly bricked over by every upgrade they made along the way. This is the golden handcuffs, and they are called that because they're shiny, and they were put on willingly, and they are still, undeniably, handcuffs. The promotion didn't buy freedom. It funded a more expensive version of the same obligation, with higher stakes and less flexibility, and a lifestyle that now requires the income to continue, whether or not the income is still worth what it costs to earn it. Your expensive life is not your reward. In many cases, it is the reason you cannot leave. So let's talk about what actually works. Because this video isn't a guilt trip, it's a map. And the map needs a route out, not just a detailed description of the terrain you're stuck in. The fundamental problem with lifestyle creep is that it treats every dollar of new income as available for consumption. The raise arrives, and the entire raise eventually becomes the new baseline. Nothing is protected. Nothing is deliberately redirected before the lifestyle has a chance to absorb it. The fix is a rule. Simple, specific, and sustainable enough that you'll actually use it. When a raise comes through, or a bonus, or any meaningful increase in income, you split it. 50% of the increase goes toward lifestyle. Guilt-free, no apology, enjoy it. You earned the raise. You are allowed to feel it in your daily life. Take the nicer vacation. Upgrade the thing that actually matters to you. Spend that half with genuine permission. The other 50% leaves your checking account automatically, immediately, before it becomes mentally available to spend. It goes toward investments, debt payoff, or savings, wherever the highest priority gap in your financial foundation currently is. It gets redirected before the lifestyle has a chance to price it in, before your brain recalibrates what normal costs, before the baseline resets to include it. The reason this works is that you are not being asked to feel nothing from the raise. You're being asked to feel half of it. That is a sustainable ask. The deprivation that causes people to abandon financial plans entirely is usually the result of all or nothing thinking. Every raise goes to investing, no enjoyment allowed, until the plan collapses under its own joylessness somewhere around month 4. The 50% rule widens the gap between your income and your overhead with every single raise you ever receive for the rest of your career, while still letting you live a life that feels like it's actually improving. Both things happen simultaneously. The lifestyle moves up a little. The wealth building accelerates a lot, and the gap, the only number that actually determines your long-term financial outcome, gets wider every time instead of staying permanently, stubbornly, at 0. Here's the final thing I want to leave you with, and it requires a specific kind of honesty that most people find genuinely uncomfortable. Open your bank statement, not to check the balance or to audit the baseline. Go back 3 years and look at what your life cost then versus what it costs now. Not the big obvious upgrades. The quiet ones. The subscriptions that got added. The food budget that drifted upward. The services you started paying for because the income was there, and it seemed reasonable at the time. The full landscape of what has become normal in your financial life, without you explicitly deciding it should be. Now ask the harder question. Which of these things actually made your life better in a way that lasted? Not better for 3 weeks, better in a durable, ongoing, genuinely meaningful way? The ones that did, keep them. With full awareness and 0 guilt. The ones that didn't. Those are your freedom, sitting in line items on a bank statement, waiting to be reclaimed. Downgrading is painful. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Canceling the subscription is fine. Selling the car and replacing it with something paid off is uncomfortable in a social way. That is very real, even if it's completely irrational. Moving to a smaller place feels, at first, like going backwards. The people around you might notice. Some of them might say something. Here is what downgrading actually is, stripped of the social anxiety around it. It is buying back your options. Every obligation you remove from your monthly overhead is $1 that stops working against you and starts working for you. Every fixed cost you eliminate is a brick removed from the wall in front of the exit door. The smaller the gap between what your life requires and what you actually need to earn, the freer you are. From the job, from the boss, from the performance, from the constant, grinding pressure of a lifestyle that requires the income to never stop, never dip, never change. That freedom is not available for purchase. It is only available through subtraction. Here's the summary. You are not behind because you don't earn enough. You are behind because the system is specifically, deliberately designed to ensure that what you earn and what you spend arrive at the same place simultaneously, every single month, for your entire working life. With just enough comfort along the way that you don't look up from the treadmill long enough to notice it's happening. Stop spending your future to impress people you don't even particularly like today. Stop treating depreciating assets as rewards for the work your future self is still going to have to do. Stop letting your overhead make your decisions. Widen the gap. Audit the baseline. Reclaim the exit. If this video made you rethink even one purchase, one subscription, one upgrade, one "I earned it" moment that maybe wasn't what it looked like, hit the like button before you leave. It helps the algorithm show this to the people who are currently in the middle of a lifestyle expansion they haven't fully priced yet. There are a lot of them. They deserve to see the math before the baseline resets. If you're not subscribed yet, this is the channel. Straight talk, no sponsors with something to sell you. No version of financial advice designed to keep you dependent on the people giving it. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next one.